from a 5-day weekend. Yeah, living the dream. Living the dream on the Jeff Dubay Show. It's a Monday. Monday after a Viking win. Talk about living a dream. Unless you're nightmarish and you want to focus on the Gopher football loss, which was god-awful. And we will get to that. As the Gophers become the second victim of the Illinois Fighting Illini in their last 26 Big Ten games. Yes, Illinois was 1-24 in their previous 25 Big Ten games until Saturday when they took down our Golden Gophers and turned a once promising season into a pile of shit as far as I'm concerned. But we'll get to that.
Is it over? Is it already over?
Well, you know what?
It is, right?
Yeah, it's... I don't want to steal the second half of the show thunder, but I can't be optimistic about a team that I just watched inch by Purdue and then lose at Illinois when they've got to play Iowa, Ohio State, Nebraska, and Wisconsin, those final two on the road. It's not promising.
No.
But we are at Devil's Advocate, as we have been each Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, basically, for the last month and a half. I had one sick day, and we had a Wild Wednesday show last week from Ridgedale Mall Fan HQ with Thomas Vanek. Other than that, you can find us here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 5 o'clock. We have moved to the back room. We used to be kind of like at the end of the bar, but we didn't put a speaker out because there's a lot of bar atmosphere, a lot of things going on out there. I was watching, McGovern strike out with women. It was painful.
Jesus.
But
I do enough of that. You don't have to say I'm doing it when I'm not even doing it.
I apologize. So we moved to the back of the bar and set up a speaker because we did have, very rarely, but from time to time, somebody would show up to take in the show.
We have had at least 3 people show up to watch this show. At least 3.
At least 3 in a month and a half. So we're gaining momentum. We're gaining momentum. But I felt bad for those people because they would show up and there'd be no speaker, so they couldn't hear it. We are now in the back of the bar, completely. When I say by ourselves, alone, I mean we are. I mean, PA used to play that song all by myself. No, Abbott would when PA was gone, all by myself. Eric Carmen at the piano. That is me right now. We are all by ourselves in the very back of Devil's Advocate. There is about a dozen tables in this room, completely empty, not a single chair occupied. It's a Monday, so I get it. I mean, Monday's the slow day here.
But now, hey, if you're listening live, stop on down.
The speaker's here. So, if you're listening live, swing by today, tomorrow, Wednesday with the Wild Wednesday, and check us out for an hour of profanity-laced sports tirades. Today, the guest is a childhood friend of mine. Dan Thompson is his name. He was going to be on the show about a month ago, but I got a voicemail from him in the middle of the night that he was going to Australia. Now, do you mind if we I don't want to strike a nerve or anything. It's cool, right?
Yeah.
Dan's married, and I've known Dan since we were
grade school.
Yeah, grade school. I mean, we played on the same little league baseball team. Yeah, softball team. That would be manly in elementary school, wouldn't it? But and as a matter of fact, he just texted me the team picture. I'm gonna put that up on Facebook for Throwback Thursday.
Priceless.
It's embarrassing, is what it is. But I've got no shame. But Dan's always been kind of a strange cat. So he's married to a woman in Australia. I don't know if that's cool or weird. It's coolly weird.
She's in Australia or she's from Australia?
She's in Australia.
Okay, yeah, that's a little weird.
It's weirdly cool.
A little bit weird.
But it is groundbreaking. We'll go with groundbreaking if you prefer. Yeah. But due to a health concern, you had to fly off to Australia. Spur of the moment.
Emergency flight.
Yeah, but everything's good now.
Yep.
Good.
She's getting a lot better. So
yeah, and that was Australia. I mean, did you wrestle any crocs or anything?
I tried getting to the Outback, but
any wallaby boxing? Did any dingoes steal your babies?
No, but I almost got punched in the face by a kangaroo. But,
seriously, okay, now we're out of Australian cliches. Did you play with a boomerang?
I was gonna say, just see a rugby
I have
match,
boomerangs. Yeah.
Did you play catch with a boomerang? Did you beat up an Aborigine? They're really small. Beat up 2.
They're really fast.
They're fast and wily.
Beat up 2. They're small.
They're pretty quick.
Well, okay.
Surprisingly.
Whatever. Okay. Well, I mean, could you have somebody fast catch you one and then you could beat the hell out of them?
Well, I could have, yeah.
All right,
but
I just. Did you play with a thunder stick?
Of course.
Did you see the thunder from down under?
No, but I heard men at work on the radio there. I'm like, are you serious?
I've got on my phone right now. I just spit again. I've got on my phone right now. I mean, we're children of the '80s. I was a lukewarm Men at Work fan. I mean, I like the song Down Under. I've got a really cool alternate version that Colin Hay did in later years. It's way better than the original. It's really funky, very cool. I'll play it for you guys later, off air. Maybe we'll mix it into the show sometime. But anyway, we are at Devil's Advocate. 40 craft beers on tap. If you're a beer drinking snob, Jason McGovern is. We got the beer drinking special. We've got. If you come in here and order a Coors Light, I will kick you in the shins. If I'm not here, then I just owe you a kick in the shins. But you can come in and get whatever you want. They have Bud Light bottles, Coors Light bottles. If you're just a complete wuss, or if you're
if you don't like beer,
or if you're a frat boy. But if you're a real man or a cool chick and you want to have like a good micro craft brew. There's a phenomenal selection here. Now, we normally advocate the Widowmaker. But the Widowmaker's become so popular that now
they keep running out of it, or there's always something wrong with it because there's just so much demand.
That's correct. But if you come in here, basically the Jeff Dubay beer special, which is going to run out at Halloween, which is later this week, so you can only really get it a few more days. You come to Devil's Advocate, 10th and Marquette, downtown Minneapolis, around the corner from the local, and you check in on social media. Show it to the bartender. Hey, you know what? I should really do that one time. I'm going to check in during the show here, and not to get a Widowmaker, just to let people know where we're at. And you show that to the bartender, you get $1 off your Widowmaker. And if you do it during happy hour, you get a couple bucks off. And there's also a second beer special where if you order a Widowmaker or a easy living, mountain living, whatever it
mountain
is,
living,
hillbilly living,
it's something mountain,
cousin Dayton, straw munching, whatever.
Definitely a mountain.
Yeah, whatever it's called. If you can get one of those during the show for $1 off, and if it's during happy hour, maybe $2 off. I don't know. Well, the show's always during happy hour.
Yeah, we're always during happy hour.
Yeah, we're always doing. Well, and if it's not, if it wouldn't be, we'd make it happy hour. Damn it, because we are joyous. We are joyous in our love of sports and sports teams. Except for the fucking Gophers.
I was going to say, all I see is on your Twitter is all joyous stuff, and, and all the fans responding. It's all joy, joy, joy.
You're a bastion of positivity.
Yeah, aren't I though? Well, funny,
especially about the Gophers.
Well, the funny thing is, some idiots in the Twin Cities media over the last 15 years, or maybe just Twin Cities fandom, found it fit to label me a homer. I mean, give me a break. I mean, I love local teams, but I'll rip the shit out of them. I mean...
Could have had something to do with who you were sitting next to.
I think I was guilty by association. But, I mean, again, I'm not going to apologize for a guy who I consider to be a friend and was a hell of a guy to work with for 10 years.
And I'm not saying apologize. I'm just saying the label, though, is probably still because of him.
He's a little more ducky than bunny than I am. but he is, and he'll admit it. But, I mean, Well,
no, that's his shtick. There's nothing wrong with
that. Yeah, that's part of his charm.
Yeah,
that's who he is.
That's exactly right. And it's perfect that the man who comes on after him is the complete opposite, and it's such a funny.
It's a good dichotomy.
It's a
funny dichotomy.
But let's start talking a little football. Let's talk Vikings. We'll get into some non-sports stuff and joke. You know what? I'm going to say something first before we get into Vikings because I'm going to stroke the folks here at Devil's Advocate for their menu. We just did for their beers.
Stroking the folks.
The food here is outrageous. I mean, I've gained about 10 pounds. I can't believe how differently my pants are fitting. And I'm not kidding about that. It's starting to alarm me. I'm on a different belt notch, and it's really, really bothering me. But the food here, it's not light fare. I mean, I get poutine on a regular basis, and I wish I was getting poutine on a regular basis. But it's called the one thing that I get here a lot is called poutine. It is cheese fries smothered in brown gravy with sausage. I mean, it's not a light meal.
Isn't there some cheese involved too?
Is it just
the gravy?
I said cheese fries.
Oh, cheese fries.
Cheese fries.
Gravy. Yes.
Okay. And these are like big, hearty, like fresh cut State Fair style fries. Melted cheese on that, like a heavy brown gravy, and then sausage, and it's borderline orgasmic, and I mean it's phenomenal.
And health food.
It's just well, yeah. I mean, I become extraordinarily flatulent every time I eat it, and it lasts for hours.
Yeah, that show that we did with you, eating the whole show, was a really good show for us sitting next to you.
I'm just glad I got the buffer in between us here.
You wouldn't go home hungry if you sat next to me. Let's put it that way. The food is phenomenal, and I mean they do some healthier stuff too. They do salads, but one thing they don't do, and this is something that I've been noticing more and more in restaurants. Maybe it's starting to fall out of favor a little bit, but it makes me so mad that people are dumb enough to fall for something called the wedge salad. You know what the wedge salad is? Have you heard of wedge salad?
I believe I have.
It's fucking ridiculous. You order a wedge. I mean, on the menu, it looks like it's a nice salad. So they come out they bring a plate out, and they basically took a head of lettuce, chopped it into quarters, and they give you it's a wedge of lettuce. They're not joking. So
it's actually just laziness? Is that what you're saying?
It is basically...
I want a chop salad.
It's basically the people in the kitchen have decided that for that night, they're your wife, and they're saying, make your own fucking salad. I mean, I've been slaving away in this restaurant kitchen all day long. Make your own fucking salad. I mean,
I have a feeling they would put it a different way.
Well, that's what it is. They're not saying it, verbatim. But when they hand you a quarter of a head of lettuce and like a tomato sitting next to it, and then like a little container of dressing, they're saying, "We're tired. Make it yourself." That is. I am so happy to say the wedge salad is not available at Devil's Advocate. It is such a scam. If you ever order a wedge salad, you're an idiot. Go home and go to the grocery store and just get yourself a head of lettuce and throw it on a plate with a goddamn tomato and some horseshit dressing in a little bottle, and you've got a wedge salad. It's so insulting. I mean, doesn't it make you mad how dumb it is? It's insulting. You don't go to a restaurant to make a fucking salad. I mean, I've said the effort 10 times already, but the wedge salad makes me so mad. I'm mad that it exists. I'm mad that they try to pass that off on people. I'm mad that people are dumb enough to order it. I'm grateful to the Devil's Advocate that they don't kowtow to the trend and offer a goddamn wedge salad. It's not a salad.
Hold on. I have a theory.
It's groceries.
I have a theory.
It's a plate of goddamn groceries.
I have a theory. We're in a health-conscious world.
Oh, shit.
It's about actually more exercise within the fucking meal itself. You have to do it yourself.
Is that your first F-bomb on the show?
I don't think so.
Oh,
I hope not.
Oh, sorry. I thought we.
I can definitely mix in some more, I promise. But no, I think that's it. I think it's just you're actually working harder now to eat your salad. It's part of the workout.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I don't need. When I go out to eat, I shouldn't need to rely on my 8th grade home ec class to figure out how I'm going to eat a salad. Just, I mean, give me a break. I mean,
Should it come with instructions? Is that what you're saying on the menu?
And the thing is, if I'm going to go through the salad bar, at least I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to get up and get it when I want it, instead of waiting for you to bring me a piece of shit salad. I'm going to get up and get it when I want it. And the stuff's chopped up, and I can throw on anything I want. And when I walk away from the salad bar, it's kind of already made.
The salad bar is a lost art.
I love it. You know who's got it? And I don't want down to pimp other restaurants because Devil's Advocate's the bomb. But I love Ruby Tuesday's salad bar.
They actually, it used to be better.
Tits.
Years ago, it was better. It's still okay now, but it used to be the best salad bar in the world.
Well, all right.
Anyway,
we probably spent enough time
on salad bars.
That was a good salad
conversation.
I eat like 3 items on a salad bar, but I love just going through and picking it myself.
I'm telling you, I'm really in the mood for a salad now. It's really pathetic.
Half of it's cottage cheese.
I'm going to send this out there one final time. People, don't fall for it anymore. Don't order a wedge salad. If you leave it alone, it'll go away. It's like a scab. Just leave it alone. It will go away. Stop picking at the wedge salad. It's a scam. You're falling for it. You're an idiot. You're trying to be trendy. Just don't do it, and it will just finally go. I have spit so much on this microphone. Let me just wipe off the microphone condom for a second.
I don't know why you bother.
All right. Well, it's
going to get wet again.
I know. It's really, really brutal. But anyway, to the Vikings. I'm going to start with the positivity. Let's get into some positivity as we move forward on the Jeff Dubay podcast, which, by the way, reached 15,000 total listens / downloads today. So thank you to everybody who's been.
And that's what, 17 episodes?
17 episodes. So like if we stopped, obviously that's like a little under 1,000 per episode. But if we stopped doing them, the downloads would continue, I believe, until it hit 17,000.
We'd be over 1,000.
Yeah. So I mean, we're getting at least we're averaging at least 1,000 a show. So that's fairly significant considering the only form of promotion that we have or rely on is social media. We don't advertise. I mean, it's just, we get on Twitter, we get on Facebook.
Well, and we rely on the listeners to retweet and all that stuff, too. So thank you guys.
And then we got the social network. Well, that's what's, the social networking. We got people who like us and support us and help us spread the word and our loyal listeners. I think the people who listen to us regularly as part of a routine. And for that, we are extraordinarily grateful. And that's why we have moved to the back of the restaurant, in all honesty, and put a speaker up because we want you folks to come on in and enjoy the show face to face. And
are we going to listen to let them participate? If somebody wants to come up, ask a question, do that kind of thing?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's absolutely in the works. But and if you're somebody who's come down already and we're disappointed in the setup because we didn't have a speaker and you weren't able to listen to it, our sincerest apologies, and just know that situation has absolutely positively been remedied. So anyway, to the positivity. The Vikings win yesterday. They win in overtime 19-13. I'll tell you what. On paper, I know you want to take you want to step back. You want to take a couple years to really evaluate some things. But right now, what a draft. I mean, Anthony Barr, Jerick McKinnon, and Teddy Bridgewater, just off the top of my head. I mean, hello. And I know that Bridgewater's got his fault. He's not a finished product, but he's the real deal. I'm convinced he's the real deal. He is poised. He's got enough arm. He's got enough smarts. He does not get flustered. He has got the worst offensive line and the worst goddamn left tackle in the league in front of him. Matt Khalil is a piece of shit.
Yeah, what happened to him?
He's a piece of shit.
What happened to that guy?
I'm telling you.
He was great 2 years ago.
Yeah, I know. Well, he's a Pro Bowler as a rookie, and he's garbage ever since. And the level to which he got blown up on that one running play, it was a 7-yard loss on a handoff to McKinnon, where basically Khalil's ass made the tackle because he got blown up at the line of scrimmage and pushed back like a blocking sled. It was an embarrassment. He should have retired.
I think he's injured and just isn't letting on with it or something.
He's been injured for 2 years. Then I mean,
it's 2 years of mediocrity.
But I'm going to tell you, but I saw you smirking over there when I was talking to Bridgewater. What don't you? I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I know the numbers. He threw 5 picks over the last 2 games into last week, and with 1 touchdown. I mean, I know that he is not lights out every time he takes the field. But what don't you like about him? Because you see him under immense pressure, stand in the pocket, cool, calm, collected, make good, solid decisions. The picks he was giving up last week were tips and deflections and helmets, and just a bunch of crap. He's got no protection. He's got minimal running game. Although McKinnon shows flashes, it's still not a running game that you can rely on a regular basis. And he's got. If he could get Rudolph back, by the way. If you get Rudolph in the lineup, a tight end is a quarterback's best friend.
Chase Ford's been doing a hell of a job, though.
Yep. Yes, but he's not Rudolph.
No.
Rudolph is as good as it gets.
If he can stay healthy.
Yeah, if he can stay healthy, he is as good. He's good an all-around tight end as there is in the game. He's not as dynamic.
Which one of us? Sorry, go on.
He's not as dynamic a pass catcher as guys like Jimmy Graham.
No,
but he is as good an all-around tight end as there is in the game. So anyway, or at least he's on the very short list of those who are. But I saw Dan grimacing and shaking his head when I was talking up Bridgewater. I think McKinnon, and Anthony Barr are lights out, just fantastic looking draft picks. I know, again, we're going to take a couple years to talk about this and watch these guys develop and see what they are. But right now, I think this draft looks lights out.
I got to agree with you. The jury's still out on Teddy, but the touch on the downfield ball, anything 20 yards down, any downfield and farther,
he's had some balls slip out of his hands.
Though.
Who the hell's Chris Johnson? Who the hell is number 12?
Seriously, yeah.
Who is that guy?
Yeah,
I'm watching the game yesterday. Who the hell is? Wasn't bad. He got open on a deep post that should have been a touchdown, and the ball you could see the ball slipped out of Teddy's hand. It came out like just quacking, just quacking. The guys at Duck Dynasty would have been proud.
Do we care about the gloves?
He's got to wear them.
Does he have the small hands thing like Dante or what?
He might. I don't know. I've never.
He's not that big of a guy, is he?
I've never met him in person. He seems slightly built, but you know what? Against when you're in the pocket, being swallowed up by 300-pound guys who get around your left tackle, you're going to look small. Dante did have small hands. I was around Dante and was able to see he did legitimately have small hands. And Tariq Floyd, I guess, legitimately has short arms, but he was able to dive. He was able to dive out and trip a guy a half a yard short of a first down with his short little puny little T-Rex arms.
T-Rex arms.
Way to overcome, Sharif. Way to overcome. I was really proud of him. But the pass to Chris Johnson he had beaten his man, a nice little double move, had deep post. And Teddy the ball just looked like it just slipped out of his hand. Maybe he squeezed it too tight or something. I don't know. It just came out just like. It came out like the last shoot of a porn. Like a guy had 5 porn scenes that day.
Money shot.
And his was not much of a money shot. It just barely got out of there.
I like the sound effect you added there. Thank you. So I wasn't sure where you were going, so I needed.
Well, just in case they weren't going to mark the show as explicit, I wanted to make sure. But so anyway, it comes out just quacking, just flailing, and you could tell it just wasn't going anywhere. And Johnson. Actually, not only was he looking for the ball and he reacted to the ball and came back for it enough to break up the pass, but he damn near caught it. And he probably should have. He kind of went Troy Williamson. It kind of hit him in the head.
Oh, that's the one. He basically made a good defensive play.
He did. Yeah. But when you looked at it, he reacted well enough to almost catch it. And I'm like, who the hell is this guy? I'd never even heard of him. Seriously, has he been in the team long? Am I making an ass of myself by asking everybody? Am I explaining myself as ignorant by not knowing who the hell Chris Johnson is?
Well, I was sitting there with fantasy football geeks, and none of us had even heard of him.
No, I've never.
Well, I'm going to be hosting a fantasy football TV show next fall, so I've got to learn
what?
Chris Johnson.
You better get on that.
What? What the hell's that?
I didn't think you were a fantasy football guy.
I used to be, and I basically had like a Dick Vermeil like burnout, where I was so intense about it that I just couldn't take it anymore. And I said years ago that I think the game misses me. And right now,
I'm sure the game's sitting around thinking the same thing.
I'm pretty damn convinced at this point it doesn't. But I miss the paychecks, so it's time to jump back into the mix of the fantasy football world.
No, if you take a break, it's actually kind of fun to get back in again. I got back in this year after a break, and it's fun.
I don't know that I'll compete in the league, but I'll dive headfirst into the paperwork and the study. As a matter of fact, you know who I'm going to be appearing with on screen, I believe. Paul Charchi.
Oh, cool.
Really?
It's in the works. It's in the works. It's a Bob Rich production. It's in the works. We'll see.
Nice.
I may have said too much. I don't want to say too much.
Yeah.
But anyway.
All right, well, back to Bridgewater then.
But this particular play, I feel you on the deep ball. He hasn't thrown a lot of really good deep balls. But I think
anything 20 yards and over.
I was going to say it's the intermediate routes, 15, 20 yards. He's pretty sharp. He threw a couple of nice sideline balls to Cordero yesterday that I thought were really sharp. And Patterson showed a nice ability to know where he is and get some feet down in bounds, too. The one that he bobbled that they reviewed, that was a close call. I think had they called that incomplete right there, they would have kept it incomplete. But he did have the right foot dragging, and you saw the turf flying up, and he did repossess it. It was so bang that I thought they did the right thing by not overturning it. Had it been called incomplete on the field, they should have kept it incomplete as well. But the other one where it was just like a jump ball, just go straight up, grab it. Cordero went up, got it at its highest point, caught it with his hands, not his body. Of course, he would have been 10 feet tall to catch that with his body. But he went up and plucked it out of the air at its highest point with his hands. came down knowing where he was. I think got as many as 3 feet in bounds. And he's pretty agile for a guy with 3 feet. But I mean, it was. And did you see another guy I want to tout on this show? Did you see the emotion from Everson Griffin when he made that play? I mean, Griffin was right there on the sideline, and he just went. I mean, he wanted to marry Cordero Patterson. At that moment, I thought he was going to propose to him. He was fired up, and I don't blame him because you come up to a point where you need someone to make a play, and when somebody makes a play that looks like it's going to put you in position to win a ball game. You know what? I think it's cool when the offense supports the defense and vice versa. And Everson Griffin, by the way, this is why I hate Jared Allen. I'm not kidding when I say hate. I think Jared Allen's a piece of shit. I think he's a selfish, out for me. I want numbers. I want to get to the Hall of Fame. And he's been that way for years. I mean, Everson Griffin is a guy with talent that the Vikings drafted out of USC a handful of years ago. And he's somebody that they've had high hopes for in terms of he kind of fits a 3-4 scheme because he's kind of a stand-up pass rushing defensive end. He's kind of a little too big to be he's kind of like a James Harrison, like back when he was good.
Yeah.
But I mean, without being a complete asshole and not quite that good. But that's style. But that's
kind of like it.
It's a watered down
style of
version.
player. Well, that's style of player. James Harrison light in terms of how much of an asshole you are and how good you are. James Harrison light. But I mean, he's kind of a stand-up pass rushing kind of a guy that you'd think wouldn't necessarily fit a 4-3. But they knew he had a ton of athletic ability, and they wanted to get him on the field. And I'm not kidding about this, Jared Allen refused to come out of games. I mean, they wanted to do like a 60-40 or 70-30 split with Jared Allen snaps and Everson Griffin snaps. Robinson plays the other side. Griffin and Allen play the blind side, or the same side. But the bottom line is, Jared Allen would refuse to come off the field. They'd want to make substitutions. They'd want to get some snaps for Griffin. They'd want to get him some reps and get him some experience. And Jared Allen wants sacks. He wants numbers. He wants to go to the Hall of Fame, and he would refuse to come off the field at the expense of the growth and development of Everson Griffin, who, by the way, halfway through the season has 8 sacks. I think Jared Allen has 0 or maybe 1. And Everson Griffin is on his way to a 15, 16 sack season if he stays healthy.
Well, Jared Allen's over the hill, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
He's been over the hill for a couple of years.
He is. Oh, yes. There's no doubt about it. But I mean,
maybe he wouldn't be if he would have taken a couple plays off.
Well, yeah,
right?
seriously. He might have something.
Exactly.
He might have something left to take. And I know he was sick. At the start of the season or in the off season, he's lost a bunch of weight, and he was light to begin with. But he doesn't belong in the league right now. But the fact that you see what kind of a player Everson Griffin is right now. And the fact that Jared Allen flat out stunted his growth and development, it just is a shame. But I remember last year when I was at training camp, because I was still employed at 1500, and I was on the practice field, and we were watching the defensive ends work, and I was 10 feet away from Griffin going through drills, and then this guy started talking to me, and I'm sitting there talking about how much I like Griffin, and I said this guy's next to be taken care of. I mean, I said, I know he's behind Jared Allen, but contract-wise, this is the next guy they're going to pay. This is the next guy they're going to lock up long-term. They got plans for this guy. And the guy I was talking to was Everson Griffin's dad. He's like, damn, I hope you're right. I'm like, I introduced myself to him. And said, I'm Everson Griffin's dad. I'm like, well, that's cool. But I was a little bit hasty because they took care of Robinson first. They went and got Robinson done, which is fair. He's been an every down player for a while. And then they got Griffin done after that. But, I mean, you knew who the guys were that they were building their future on. But defensively, let me backtrack for a second. Don't you love how... Now, this team is not great. Although, had they beaten Buffalo, they'd be 4-4 in the game behind Green Bay. They'd come with the home game still on the schedule.
And they should have beaten Buffalo.
Absolutely. Of course, if you're common man, you'd say, well, they should have lost yesterday.
Yeah.
I get so sick of that. But the bottom line is they are an eyelash away from being 4-4 and being right on the heels of the Green Bay Packers, who are still a very, very flawed football team with a really good quarterback. And if you can't see that, Packer fans, put down the old Milwaukee for 5 fucking seconds and take a closer look. Because when your quarterback's in there, you're getting trashed by teams like New Orleans. And when he's gone, you have no chance against anybody.
And he's hurt.
Yeah, and
that's scary for Green Bay fans.
By the way, we gave New Orleans one hell of a better game than you did.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
Didn't we beat New Orleans?
No, we should have.
No, we would have if it weren't for that bullshit roughing the passer call.
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
yes.
Okay.
Captain Munnerlyn, right?
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
I mean, it was right down to the wire. But anyway, I digress. What I like about the Vikings, and there's plenty to not like. I mean, they're 3-5, and they've shown late game collapse 2 weeks in a row. They certainly have a defense that's still a work in progress. They've got everything that's a work in progress, and you don't know what the identity of this team's even going to be next year with the uncertain status of Adrian Peterson. However, having said that, and the offensive line is god awful. I mean, the offense.
Bad.
What happened?
Well, they've suffered some injuries. I mean,
they're on backups now, aren't they?
They're really piecing it together. But it'd be nice if guys who you thought you could rely on, like Matt Khalil, weren't horseshit. I mean, that would be helpful.
Your top draft pick.
Yeah, but the point I'm trying to get at is the young talent is is definitely in place. I mean, I believe that you have futures with guys like Teddy Bridgewater, Jerick McKinnon, Cordero Patterson, Everson Griffin, Anthony Barr, Sharif Floyd.
Harrison
Sharif Floyd
Smith.
with this little stubby arms making the most.
Harrison
Harrison Smith is a
Xavier
solid player.
I still don't think people know what they have in Xavier Rhodes here. Xavier Rhodes is a stud in the making. He's a big, strong, physical, athletic corner who's got to stay healthy like anybody else.
A lot of teams are staying away from him. That's why you're not hearing a lot about him.
And people say, well, people are making plays on him. It's the NFL. I mean, everybody gets made plays. You look at the last two plays against Buffalo. They were both on him. But, I mean, the guy who made the play down to the one, I mean, it's a leaping grab with a defensive back in your face.
On an out route with no help.
I mean, I mean, people are going to make plays. The NFL is set up for offense. It's set up for teams to be able to throw the ball. It's set up for excitement. For
it's set up to be a D-back and have that be the worst job in the world. I mean, that's
really
seriously
is.
the worst
really
job
is.
in football.
Yeah, I mean, the defensive back is basically the redheaded stepchild of the National Football League. And Xavier Rhodes is somebody who's got a hell of a future. So if you want to go level by level, I mean, start at the well. Let's go. You go from the line. I mean, Robinson's a guy who's right in the prime. He's not a kid. I mean, he's somebody who's hitting his stride. He's in his prime. But Griffin is still pretty young. Sharif Floyd is in his second year. Barr, maybe Hodges could still be an every down linebacker at some point. Who knows? But Barr is a real talent. Rhodes is a real talent. It turns out that Josh Robinson can play. I mean, who knew? But Josh Robinson has a little bit of talent. He can play a little bit. We thought he was a disaster a year ago, but guess what? He was miscast. He was misused. He was in the wrong place, playing the wrong position. Thanks to Vikings coaching that was just off the money all year long. And then you get to the safety position. You've got one. We need to find more. I mean, Harrison Smith, I think, has the potential to be elite. If he's not, he's at least on the edge of elite.
He didn't get enough credit for that fumble yesterday. Not on TV anyway.
Yeah, you're right.
Because he's the one that made the impact that made it come out.
It was like a two-phase hit. I mean,
Yep.
Barr stripped,
got it loose,
Barr stripped,
kind of.
and then Harrison knocked it out. Yeah.
He makes a lot of big plays.
Oh yeah,
I like that.
Harrison's
guy.
always on the ball.
And I love the fact that he plays with an edge. I don't care that he'll get a fine here and there, maybe even a suspension. But
good.
I like to have a safety whose nickname is Dirty Harry.
Yes, you need some of that, especially in the Vikings.
I mean, it's not to be confused with Dirty Randy from the sitcom
the league best show on TV.
I mean, he's not a porn star. But he's a hell of a safety. He's a hell of a safety. I dig having a safety called Dirty
I think you
Harry.
could say of safeties, he's the porn star.
Oh, he's the Dirty Randy of the Minnesota
Big time,
Ravens. But Dirty Randy.
I'm sure he'd love to hear that.
It's just too funny. Seth Rogen is
I love it.
Dirty Randy.
That is the greatest
That
show.
show's great.
I know that was a little inside, but anytime you get a chance to make a Dirty Randy reference, you got to do it.
You cannot pass it up.
So anyway, your impressions. I mean, I just threw it out there. You got young guys. You got some good things in right positions, but I will add this. How about? I've said that for too many times. I'm going to try to limit myself a little bit.
Oh, come on.
But how the hell do you have 2 weeks in a row where you play lights out for 50 minutes, 45, 50, 55 minutes, and then you are a sieve for the final five, where the teams just go down the field on you? I don't get
That's
it.
classic
That's not
Vikings.
just this year.
happen?
That's not just this year. That was last year with
That's
the different
every
coaching
year.
staff.
That's like 40
I
years
swear
now.
lately it's been worse. That last
it
drive in
shocks
the
me.
fourth quarter, you're a sieve, and you're right. It's 20-yard pass, 15-yard pass, and there's no. It seems like the defense isn't on the field for that last drive.
Yeah, seriously,
the-
it makes no sense.
Yeah, prevent. I don't know.
Well,
Prevents you from winning.
I don't think Zimmer's an idiot. As a matter of fact, I'm convinced he's not. He's a defensive guru, and I love how he will. I was so sick of the cover two. The Vikings were cover two forever. I mean, it seems like they've been cover two. Well, they have been.
Everybody was.
Yeah.
But it's so vanilla and so benign and so passive.
It doesn't work in this league anymore. That's so designed for offense now, right?
Not anymore. As much as I cannot stand what an ass Chris Carter is, he did a great bit on ESPN last year to show why it's an outdated defense. It just no longer works. But it's just the bottom line is it's passive and it's benign. And you sit there with your four linemen, your three linebackers, and there's just no surprise. It's just so easy for a good quarterback to just look at it and say, okay, here's what I'm going to do, and there's not much you're going to do to stop it. It's really a defense made to slow teams down rather than stop them. But Zimmer, I mean, we are for folks who have been missing, some defensive variety and some defensive excitement in your football, in your Viking football, for the better part of 10 to 15 years. Zimmer has brought that back. You will see plays where you will have 7, 8 guys, not in the box, on the line of scrimmage, and you don't know who's coming. I mean, I mean, Barr is an athletic difference maker who's got to be accounted for. You bring him up to the line of scrimmage, and I'm not saying put a hand down. I mean, he's in an upright position. But you bring him to the line of scrimmage. You bring Greenway to the line of scrimmage, and you've got guys who can rush the passer with their hand on the ground, like Griffin and Robinson, who absolutely can, and Floyd, who's been a disruptive guy. And you know what? The guy who got arrested...
Linval Joseph, he's doing good, too.
I'll tell you what. The guy who got arrested at 7 and the guy who got shot are both difference makers. Linval got shot. Is it Johnson or Thompson? Johnson.
Yeah.
The guy who got arrested at 7. He can play a little bit. Believe it or not. So, maybe that's why he thought, he had the right to stay past closing. It's like, come on, man, I'm making plays. I can stay past closing. I mean, it's just...
isn't that part of,
But the bottom line is, when you got 7 guys, you got 7 guys, not 8. 8's a bit of an exaggeration. Well, although a defensive back does get into the mix once in a while. I mean, they blitzed Munderland, as we saw against New Orleans.
I thought I heard 9 in the box a couple of times.
I'm not even talking about the box. I'm talking at the line of scrimmage.
Just actually on the line.
I mean, when you put 6, 7, 8 guys on the line of scrimmage, and sometimes, I mean, you know what a zone blitz is. The linebacker comes, and a lineman drops off, and a lineman goes into coverage. And it's not like you're asking him to cover a specific guy. He's just kind of trying to clog up the middle, like Sharif Floyd. Did you see the job Sharif? Remember the play that I was talking about earlier, where Sharif Floyd took his little itty-bitty arms and got every inch out of it he could by diving and tripping the guy up too short?
Yeah.
Did you see how he read that screen pass? I mean, it was brilliant. I mean, he saw right away. He read screen, or maybe somebody yelled screen. But nonetheless, he immediately stopped his rush and just drifted out into what would be his right, which was the quarterback, it's the left flat, and just completely disrupted the screen pass.
No, and that's coaching, isn't it? To show them to be
absolutely.
Aware of this?
Absolutely. And then there was a story, an article in the Star Tribune today about how he's starting to get it, about Zimmer's, the stuff that Zimmer's teaching him, and Patterson, who's been the defensive line coach here for a while, or he's been on the defensive staff here for a while, has the stuff is starting to sink in with Sharif. And I tell you what, I just think that there is a handful of really good young talent. I think that a couple of years ago, let's go back like a year and a half, before the Patterson-Floyd draft. How about that? The Floyd Patterson draft. Before that draft, there was talk about does Spielman get it? Can he do it? And he's had 2 really good drafts. I mean, he's had 2 drafts that. And I'm not talking like the 2 drafts that you've had during the show here, McGovern.
I'm one in. I'm one in. Let's settle down.
I mean, he's had 2 drafts that have, I'm sure owners and other NFL muckety mucks not only taking notice, but not being afraid to place a phone call or 2 if they want to pluck him.
Speaking of the drafts,
as I said, pluck him. Continue.
PL. Speaking of the drafts, though, Teddy, you're high on Teddy. You smirked. I thought he was saying
jury's out on Teddy. I mean, there's some things about him I love. I wish he'd run more. To be honest with you.
Well, yeah, he's got athletic ability, but you don't want him hurt. He does look frail.
I see 2 things about him that he's a rookie. Well, the first one is a rookie thing. The second one, I'm not sure what it is. But he seems like he's not hitting the receiver when they break on the route. He's waiting for the receiver to break into the route, then he throws. Whereas you see, the best quarterbacks in the league.
But the ball seems to be there on time.
Well, but no, to me they seem like it's a split second late, where instead of you catch the ball and you have a chance to run, by the time the receiver catches the ball, the defender's on him.
Yep.
So I'm worried about that, but I think that's a rookie thing. But the other thing that I've noted is a lot of passes get knocked down. Like I think that's actually a bigger thing in the NFL in general.
Mm-hmm.
But that's something that you're dealing with tall, huge linemen in front of you in college too.
Yep.
Is that a knock on him? Is he doing something wrong, or is that just the league and you got huge linemen and you got to deal with it? Because it feels to me like he's not getting the ball out at the right angle, or he's not taking into account that he has 6'6" guys in front of him.
I personally, I've admired his poise in the pocket. I don't know that he's delivering it late, but considering the fact that I've been watching Christian Ponder for the last couple of years, I mean, anything would appear...
Well, compared to him.
Yeah, anything it would appear to be on time. I mean, he's like the opposite of Jimmy Johns. Ponder can't make a decision. He can't make a quick read and have the confidence to deliver the ball on time. I don't know about about Bridgewater's timing, but I do know that he's got brass balls. I mean, he's unflappable in the pocket.
No, he's not afraid of taking a hit either.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have the quote-unquote... You know what really bugs me? You used to always say that, this quarterback's got happy feet. You don't want to... You want the guy to not be, jittery or jumping or hopping around back there. And last night, like Collinsworth was talking about how great it is. Look at Aaron Rodgers. His feet are moving. He's hopping around.
And Breeze does it too. Breeze is constantly dancing back
I was
there.
thinking the same thing when I heard that.
So here's what it is. if you are a shitty quarterback and you're hopping around, you got happy feet. But if you're Drew effing Brees, oh, look at him. Look at how active he is. Look at how he's on top. He's on the balls of his toes. His ears are perked. He's ready to go. He's not a fucking racehorse. I mean, it's just so ridiculous. The show might get better if I say that.
I think you should. I think you should keep
We
it
need a
going.
swear jar.
But oh God, we'd make a. Well, yeah,
If other people had to pay for every time, that would be fucking brilliant.
The sponsor.
But it's just like I mean, and I love Collinsworth. I think he's as good as there is in the business. But I mean, they can make anything. I mean, it's either happy feet if you suck, or you're an agile quarterback. You're involved in the flow of the game if you're hopping around and you Drew freaking Brees.
I've loved Collinsworth until the last 2 years. He's gone from a guy who's not afraid to criticize to all I want to tell you about is how great everyone is.
Maybe he got on
That's John
antidepressants.
Gruden.
Maybe
That's John Gruden too.
Maybe he got some Xanax.
Has Gruden gone too positive? I don't ever watch Monday Night
Well,
Football. Monday Night Football
Gruden loves
sucks.
everyone.
I don't
Everyone he
dislike-
talks
I
about,
like
he
Gruden.
loves.
I like Gruden. I like Collinsworth. But here's what bugs me about Gruden. You can't tell me that the face isn't a bit for him. I mean, nobody goes around looking like
The grimace,
Nobody looks like this on purpose. I mean, not by accident. I mean, that's not your at relax. That's not your relaxed.
I think it's accident now. He's been doing it so long.
I mean, he's doing it on purpose. I think he's doing it.
He
on
might
purpose
just be
because
mad
I
all
think
the
it's a
time,
bit.
too.
I think it's a well. Then he's got to lighten up. He's got a pretty good.
But no,
look.
because he did it on the sidelines. I mean, as a coach, he
Well,
always
he
had
could be
that same
pissed.
look.
Well, yeah, but you can't be so pissed in the booth. How are you so pissed?
No.
I mean,
He's making the money he's making to sit up there?
Is Tirico farting? I mean, what's the problem? Do you not like black people? I mean, what are you so mad about? Well, John Gruden.
That's it. That's gotta be it.
John Gruden, what are you so mad about? I get it on the field. If your team is doing something, you're aggravated. I mean, you're a coach. You're a micromanager. Even if your team's good, you can see the smallest little thing and not like it. But what about the Monday Night Football job is pissing you off so
But hold
much?
on. Okay, so he's saying that Gruden is more like Collinsworth, though, like I said, though, where he's too positive. So is he just really yelling now the positivity? No, it's like, oh, I just fucking love this guy so much. This quarterback is so great in the pocket. Or
He's like confused or something.
Well, I don't
he's
think-
not on the antidepressants.
And
His face turns red when he's talking about people.
You know what kind of bums me out, too, is, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Thursday Night Football. I mean, it's extra football. And speaking of extra football, we'll get to the London game yesterday, because that was tits.
That was a good-
They've got to do that. Well, no, they just got to do that at 8:30.
Oh,
Yeah, that early game.
Waking up
Yeah.
and not having to deal with the Jimmy Grahams of the world, or
like
whatever.
being on the West
Jimmy-
Coast.
yeah.
Or whatever. What's his name?
Johnson?
No, I'm talking about the evangelist dudes.
Oh, Jimmy Schweigert.
Well, whatever.
I don't know any of them.
Benny Hinn. I mean,
Benny Hill?
no, Benny Hinn.
Oh,
Benny
oh,
Hill's
oh.
dead, dude.
Yeah.
He's been dead for like 20 years. He wasn't even funny when he was alive. But they, I mean,
That little thing where he patted the guy's head, though, that was pretty
yeah,
good.
well, the music's so annoying. But the fast speed stuff is kind of funny. Anyway, I digress. To wake up and have a football game out at 8:30 at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then to have it, bleed enough past 11 o'clock that you don't have to have as much nauseating pregame. I mean, it was just a win-win. You could. It's just, I don't know. I liked it. And I know you
They've
can't-
normally done that at a normal kickoff time,
you
right?
can't- yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Here?
And I know you can't play games in London every week, but when they do have London games, kick them off at 8:30. That was cool as hell.
12 hours of football is so much better than 9.
No, I loved it. And then back. Well, here's why I like Saturdays better than Sundays is because I can watch like 5 or 6 games. I mean, they start at 11, then there's games at 2:30, then there's games at 5, 6 o'clock, then it's like
you
at
get the West
8:30,
Coast
7,
games,
8:30,
yeah.
then you get a game at like at 10. I mean, I could just be the ultimate slug. I mean, I could just slough it out like nobody on a Saturday. But on a Sunday, I mean, on a Sunday you get an early game, you get a late game, and then if you want, you got a Sunday. It's not bad, but it's not Saturday. And I can sit there and watch a Pac-12 game or a Hawaii game until 1 in the morning, knowing I got nothing to do not on Sunday. Of course, I don't get up at the crack of dawn on Monday either. I mean, I didn't have to get up. Let's just say I didn't have to set an alarm to be here at 5 o'clock. Let's just put it that way. But I mean, it was just nice to have that extra game. I mean, to wake up and just stay in bed and watch an NFL game while you grab like a cinnamon roll and a Bloody Mary or whatever your poison is, and just
Well, and it ended up being a good game. I mean,
Yeah,
the crazy
yeah.
ending. I mean, how the hell did that happen?
What's his face? Smith, the coach
The
for
Atlanta?
Atlanta.
Yeah.
He should have been fired years ago. I mean, when he went for
not a good coach.
I mean, he's a terrible coach, and their window's closed. I mean, when you're an NFL team and you are a contender, like you could see Houston's window closing for years. You could see that Atlanta's was closing, and they had bad coaches that held them back. Each team had a bad coach that held them back and kept really good, talented teams from getting where they should get. The fact that Smith still has a job is mind blowing. I mean, he's not going to. They're 2-5 now. You can just. absolutely just show him the door. But I mean, of course, Mike Tyson will be unemployed again. I mean, isn't he on the Atlanta staff now?
Yeah, he is.
So he's going to get gassed again. And I like Tice.
Mike Tice should do TV.
I feel bad for him.
He should do TV.
I think it would be good.
Yeah,
get him down on the sidelines like Saragusa. That's a big goofball. Yeah, but I mean,
He'd sit there all game and do that.
He's a good guy, and I like him. And I still think that he would make a good head coach in this league if he had an owner that would pay him and devote any resources to the team.
Well, yeah, he didn't have much of a chance, did he?
Oh, no. I mean, he was making less than coordinators on other teams.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, he lost his staff. He lost Linehan.
Well, that was Red, right?
Yeah, it was Red.
Yeah,
it was all Red. It was all Red. They traded Moss. I mean, they did everything they could to save money in the Tice year. So he never had a fair shake. But he's the kind of guy. I mean, he made some mistakes of his own too. I mean, he always divulged too much to the media. I mean, he said way too much. But he's not a dumb guy. I mean, contrary to the way he sounds, he's actually a really bright guy and a real student of the game. Although sometimes I think he wears the glasses to make us think he's smarter than he is.
I hate the pencil behind the ear.
Yeah, see, he's trying to.
I could do without.
Yeah,
That's his signature look.
I
Well,
know.
he's trying to look
what a
smart.
great signature
Well,
look.
he's basically got the image of being a big lovable oaf. He's basically Shrek, and he wants he wants to try to turn the image into I'm a thinking man's football guy. I got the little glasses, little reading glasses, and I got the pencil behind the ear. I'm a Brad Childress in a Shrek body. It is what he's trying to do. But he can't really pull
Every
it off.
man's dream to be a Brad Childress in a Shrek body.
Well, anything's better than Brad Childress and Brad Childress's body. But anyway, I continue
That
to
is
lose.
a lot of digressing right there.
What are we on? Let me see where we're on.
Does he even have a
20
job?
minutes.
We're 40 minutes past the hour.
Does Brad Childress, isn't he like a unpaid volunteer for Kansas City
Well,
or
I
something
think
now?
he gets paid, but he's got a really fluffy made up title.
Yeah.
Because Andy Reid just continues
His
to take
buddy,
care of him.
yeah.
He takes care of him. Gophers lose on Saturday to Illinois, and I'm going to. For those of you who don't, check me out on Facebook. Well, fuck you. But you missed my wisdom that I threw out there.
The Mason stuff?
I'm going to read it right now.
I loved it.
And I'm not going to pretend that I don't like Jerry Kill, because I do. I like Jerry Kill. I think they're doing a good job, and they're going in the right direction. And you do have to be patient. There's no doubt about that. But when Glenn Mason was fired, I was so outraged. I mean, it's just so completely outraged, because Maturi had just given him an extension. So he believed in him. And then he took a mediocre team in a rebuilding year to a bowl game and then lost it in dramatic fashion to a team that was way better than him, and he had no business beating. But
Weren't we up by like 28 points?
But that's the thing. People get so wrapped up in how he lost.
Yep.
Well, the wheels fell off, and he didn't.
But who cares?
No plan B.
But to me, who cares? I mean, he had a bad team that year, and he coached his balls off to get him to a bowl game. And that Texas Tech team with Leach coaching, that was a legit squad that should have kicked our ass, and we had them. We had them by the short ones,
Big time.
and they did get away, and it has to be noted that you let it get away. But you played a competitive game where you could have beaten this team that was out of your league, and I'm not kidding. That was a legit squad,
Nope.
and we were in a rebuilding year, and because they lost the way they did, people got pissy and whiny, and Maturi is a weak man with no backbone. Well, he is.
Maturi sucks.
Maturi's the Mark Dayton
worst.
of athletic directors. He's a lick my finger and stick it to the wind and see which way it's blowing, and I will jump on that. I will jump on that bandwagon.
No,
and he did, and he fired a coach that put the program that firing put the program back 10 years. So
Was
I
it?
wrote. No, I'm going to regale you with my wisdom here.
All right.
Although it's really arrogant the way I started it. I started it by saying I'm going to lend some perspective. Let me lend some perspective. That's really arrogant.
That sounds like something you
Where the
would
hell
open
is
up
it?
a conversation with.
Oh, where the hell? Thank you. Hey, fuck you. No, I'm just Here we go. I gotta clean up the language. Oh crap! I keep hitting the wrong button. I did it again.
Oh,
I
my
gotta
God.
hit the continue
This is
reading.
riveting.
All right, here we go.
There you go.
And I read from my Saturday night post, which was crafted sitting on a bench at Bryant Lake Bowl, just watching the people pass by. Let me lend some. If you were wondering what I was doing
I
Saturday
thought you
night.
were anti-Uptown.
I kind of hate. I love Uptown. I just hate the people. If I see one more 25-year-old with a lumberjack beard, I'm going to shoot him in the head. I mean, just the hipster doofuses. I can't take them. Anyway, let me lend some perspective on the recent history of Gopher football. Jerry Kill just threw away a season by losing to a team that was 1-24 in their last 25 Big Ten games. Let me pause while that soaks in for a second. 25 Big Ten games, 1-24 in their last 25. That is like Northwestern of the 1980s bad. All right, that is epically bad. 1-24 in the last 25 Big Ten games. Well, Glenn Mason had his most promising season slip away by losing to Michigan in a game between two top 20 teams, where he rushed for over 400 yards against an elite defense. Now, we can go back for a second. I was on my honeymoon. I watched that game at the Disney Boardwalk ESPN Club, a table away from some Michigan fans. And did it crush me? Did it destroy? Yeah, it did. But again, people get so bent out of shape at how you lost. What's worse? What is worse? Being a top 20 team, going down to the wire against another top 20 team with a couple weeks left in the season, really fighting for the Rose Bowl bid with this team, as a top 20 team against a top 20 team and losing in heartbreaking fashion.
They choked away a huge
being a
lead.
team like Minnesota now that is yet to make your mark at all, and you've got a chance to contend for a Big Ten title game, and you lose to a god-awful team that you shouldn't even have a minute of trouble with. And I got people saying, they responded by saying, you can't blame Kill. He had dropped passes. The guy lost the ball in the sun. Yeah, shit happens when you're in a close game against a shitty team. You shouldn't be in a close game against a shitty team.
Right.
You should be up 3 touchdowns against a shitty team.
Shitty stuff happens to them, too.
Seriously. You don't think Glenn Mason had a bad break or two in some of the games he lost? But anyway, I digress. Back to the point. Yet Mason remains hated and Kill loved, while the Michigan game lives in infamy, and today's loss will become a mere footnote in program history, despite the fact that today's loss is far worse. And that was worse. When you lose to a team that has won 1 out of their last 25 Big Ten games, and you are a team that is, quote-unquote, contending for a Big Ten spot in the Big Ten title game, and Jim Suhan and I were in complete agreement 2 weeks ago that they were going to play January 1st, whether it was in Orlando or Tampa. They were in line for a nice bowl game. And by the way, this also comes off on the heels of a game where you mailed it in and got lucky. Now, if that didn't get your attention against Purdue, where you could coach them up and say, "Hey, damn it, we just played a horseshit team at home and we were lucky to beat them. Let's get our heads out of our asses before we throw it away against another bad team." They couldn't do that, and they should have been able to. With all the coachable moments in that Purdue game, they should have been able to reel it in and get it going in the right direction for Illinois, and they didn't. But I will continue here. That the Michigan game will live in infamy while the Illinois game becomes a mere footnote in program history, despite the fact that the Illinois game is far worse, more embarrassing, and more damaging than the Michigan game. I guess it must be Kill's bowl record with losses against bad teams from Texas Tech and Syracuse that gets people excited. And I will say again, I've had people try to defend that Texas Tech loss. The Texas Tech team that beat Mason would have kicked the ass of the Texas Tech team that beat Kill. And by the way, that was a come-from-ahead loss that would have people would have drone Mason out of town for. They went ahead by 7 points with like a minute left and lost in regulation. That's outrageous.
Weren't they one of the craziest, best passing teams in college history that year?
Not that year.
Okay, I thought that was still that type of Texas Tech.
They did have some.
And let's not forget, Texas Tech was favored in that game, but that's because some people just didn't take into consideration the regional differences. Texas Tech was small and light, and we pushed them around. We bullied them for 60 minutes. We could have and should have been able to do anything we wanted to against these weaklings from Texas Tech all day long because they were tiny, small. I mean, talk about the kill loss 2 years ago, and we should have won that game by 3 touchdowns. I mean, if you watched one half of that game, you had no doubt which team was physically superior, and that's a bad loss. Now, don't even get me started on Syracuse. Syracuse is a bad football team. Syracuse is a bad football team, and the fact that you couldn't get anything going offensively for as long as you did, and you stuck with Philip Nelson as long as you did before Leitner provided the spark that you needed to have a chance to win that game. But anyway, Kill's bowl record has losses against Texas Tech and Syracuse, while Mason teams beat Oregon and Alabama. Okay, we've got winning streaks. In case you're not keeping track out there, we got current winning streaks against Oregon and Alabama. I mean, and that's courtesy of Glenn Mason, folks.
I was going to say because we haven't ever played
and we
them
we ran the ball down Alabama's throat. Now there's a little spin involved here. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, these are not the Alabama teams that you see.
This isn't Nick Saban's Alabama.
Yeah, there's not Saban's Alabama, but the Oregon teams we beat were pretty damn good teams. We're telling you, or the good team. I mean, we're talking about when they were like a 9-2 team in the Sun Bowl, 8-3 team in the Sun Bowl, ranked good respectable teams like right after Joey Harrington. And we lost to Joey Harrington, but then we came back and beat them the next year without Joey Harrington. But those were good Oregon teams. So anyway, I continue. We beat Oregon and Alabama in bowl games. Of course, Mason had the advantage of recruiting to a brand new state-of-the-art stadium that a previous coach worked tirelessly to make happen. Oh wait, that was Kill too. And again, I'm not trying to take shots at Kill. I'm trying to take shots at people who want to absolutely destroy Mason and revere Kill. And the reasons are Mason was an asshole and lost clutch games in heartbreaking fashion. Whereas Jerry Kill is a sympathetic figure with a bad medical condition and a lovable cute round little face and a great disposition.
And a mustache.
That's absolutely why.
He's got the mustache.
Absolutely why.
Who hated Mason more, the fans or the media?
The media.
Yeah, because that was it, right? Wasn't that pushed onto the fan?
Maybe, but I'm going to say again. But I mean, fans do hate Mason. I mean, I don't
know why. I like Mason.
Actually,
I still like Mason.
People don't understand. I mean, knowledgeable people who should know better. You had No chance in the Metrodome. You literally, for Mason to ever have an 8-win season in the Metrodome, that is a coaching job that I can't even begin to describe to you. I mean, we were in that shithole from the early 80s, and what did we ever do? I mean, Lou Holtz came here and got us to 6-5. And Lou Holtz is a college football magician. He's a wizard. He got us to 6-5. Now, granted, he was only here 2 years to take us to 6-5. But you cannot... The biggest, most important thing you can do on a recruiting trip is bring a kid to the stadium, show him the stadium.
Ugh.
You take a kid to the Metrodome, and it's set up for baseball or basketball or lacrosse.
You're
or
gonna be
high
here
school
all
soccer.
winter, man.
Yeah, check it out. You could not recruit a decent player to that stadium, and then the fact that he was able to get even the talent that he got there. And the knock against him was, he didn't connect with the Minnesota high school coaches. He didn't have these good relationships. I got news for you. Minnesota high school football sucks. All right, if you're going to rely, now don't get me wrong. There's a handful of players.
There's a recruiter to a year.
We got some big, beefy linemen out of it.
There's a handful of players you want to get here every year. And typically they're offensive linemen. But, the Jeff Jones kid, the running back that we got last year, I mean, there's some talent. I mean, you got a couple of quarterbacks from time to time. Obviously, the Cretan kid that went to Ohio State, the defensive kid whose name escapes me, was a nice player. There's a handful. But you are not going to make a living winning with Minnesota kids. And you can sprinkle them in here and there. But you're typically not going to – they're not going to be – other than your offensive line, they're not going to be the guys who drive your team.
The average fan here loves that shit, though.
How many Minnesota kids? How many Minnesota kids are on our defense right now? Now that Hageman's gone and Rallis is gone, tell me how many? I think zero.
Yeah, I think zero. I can't think of one.
I think zero. You got some on the offensive line, and you got a couple of wide receivers. Like Frichty, who God damn it, put some eye black on you. Idiot. Wear some fucking eye
That's
black.
what we need is some
seriously.
receivers, man.
But Frichty is a nice receiver.
He's okay.
And he drops. He doesn't even drop a ball. He doesn't even make an effort for a ball that he loses in the sun. And I get it. You lose a ball in the sun. But you don't have to recoil from it. It's not a line drive. It's a football.
Yeah.
You're not a third baseman with a screaming, hooking line drive coming at your head. It's a football falling from the sky that will not hurt you. Ask Troy Williamson. Been hit in the head dozens of times. Never once concussed.
That we know of.
Do not recoil. Keep your hands out there. Nothing's going to happen to you by keeping your hands out there. You're not going to be hurt. I mean, the fact that he pulled his hands back made me think, what is he afraid of? He's afraid of the ball? I mean, I get losing the ball. I get not making the play. The fact that he recoiled is bizarre to me. And I'm watching him run to the sidelines. And the first thing I'm doing is looking in his helmet to see if he's wearing eye black. And he's not. And he comes back on the field and plays the rest of the fourth quarter without eye black. I don't know how a coach doesn't grab him and say, put on some fucking eye black. If you can't see the ball, put on some eye black. But anyway, I digress once again.
Give him some fucking shades.
People
Yeah.
are pissed about Mason not having these great relationships. That give you what? What do they give you? Offensive linemen. That's what it gives you. And guess what? He had shit. He had offensive linemen that were the shit. I mean, he had Esslinger. He had no trouble putting together an offensive line that would kick your ass all day long. All day long. So where are these Minnesota kids? Yeah, they're Minnesota kids that were going to other places. And guess what? They still do. And they still will. And they will continue to. I mean, who's the kid that's playing for the Rams right now? I mean,
Laurinaitis.
Yeah.
They will continue to go elsewhere, and no matter how good you get, you're not going to beat Ohio State in recruiting battles. You're just not. It is what it is. The elite are still going to find other places to go. So Mason wasn't missing out on stuff that was making a difference in your program. He is missing. Okay, I mean, again, offensive linemen are the guys who you can keep home. You're not going to keep home the elite quarterback. You're not going to keep home Chris Wenke. You're not going to keep home had Joe Mauer not played baseball. You're not going to keep him home to play football. You're not going to keep home the kid who went to Ohio State from Cretan last year, who was the number one defensive recruit in the country for his junior year in high school, before they downgraded him into the teens because they realized, hey, he's playing in Minnesota. How can he be that good? It's just common sense. But you're not going to keep those guys. If you're going to recruit the shit out of Minnesota, you're going to wind up with some blue chip offensive linemen. Glenn Mason never had an issue with the offensive line. Never once. So get off you. I don't care if he didn't kiss the ass of mediocre high school football coaches. I don't care if he didn't fillet Mike Grant. It doesn't mean a damn thing to me. I mean, he had an elite running game. He got the players that mattered, and he was winning in the Metrodome. And he built that stadium. You want to know who built that stadium? Glenn Mason built that stadium. Brick by brick. You want to know who built brick by brick? Glenn frickin' Mason, brick by brick, that stadium. And he and Jerry Kill are tight, which I dig. I think Jerry Kill is smart enough to know. This guy is a guy who's worthy of my respect, and Glenn Mason vice versa. And they have a really good mutual respect that goes back and forth. But had Glenn Mason been able to continue at his job and take that program into that stadium, and now he could actually get a higher class of player than he was getting, by recruiting to the Metrodome, this program was poised to take a significant step from a team that would win 6 or 7 games a year to a team that was going to win 8 to 10 a year. And I damn well mean it. I'm not kidding one bit about that. And they took that away from him, and they gave it to a clown, an absolute jackass who drove it into the ground. And thank God they were able to land where they did. I mean, let's not give Maturi too much credit here. He spun a fucking wheel and it landed on Jerry Kill. I mean, it didn't even land on Kill. It landed on two other guys.
He got lucky.
And then it wound up landing on Kill.
Yep.
And this is the perfect. Jerry Kill's the perfect coach for this team and the perfect coach for this situation, and his staff is. So don't think that this is a rant against him. It's a rant against people who just don't want to recognize what they had in Glenn Mason. They just refuse. They refuse to recognize.
I think a lot of what people didn't like about him is there was a constant threat of him trying to get out of here and go to Ohio State.
Well, but you know what? It's not constant because once they hire a coach, they hire a coach. I mean, we didn't expect for the little penguin guy to be a cheater. I mean, seriously. I mean, Tressel. You look at Tressel, and he's such a nerd. When he's his little sweater vest and his little glasses. They basically hired Mr. Rogers. I mean, he'd like run on the sideline, he'd put his sneakers on, his little sweater vest, and he'd say, "Welcome, neighbor." Jeez. I mean, he was the Mr. Rogers of college football. Yeah. And it turns out that while he's writing all these books about morality and being a Christian, that he was just a hypocrite. I mean, he wasn't a banging a whore in a Motel 8 hypocrite
that we know of.
But I mean, he was a hypocrite, and then his program was slimy. But nonetheless, when they hired him. I mean, he was there for 10 years, and so it's not like the job was keep coming open and Mason was sniffing around. I mean, and any time you have any kind of success, coaches' names are going to get thrown around. We were talking about killing Michigan last week. I mean, and it doesn't necessarily mean that he's sniffing around. It doesn't mean that he's looking to go anywhere. And I don't think Jerry Kill would. I think Jerry Kill's smart enough to know that that there's a level of expectation at Michigan that is difficult to reach right now. I mean, it is. Ask Rich Rodriguez. Rich Rodriguez is a hell of a football coach. He was lights out at West Virginia. He's lights out at Arizona. He is I'm not going to say he's elite, but he's not far from elite. Ask him what it's like to go into Michigan and try to bring your style of play into this arrogant program where they think winning is their birthright. Michigan is not a traditional power, by the way. Michigan became good in the late 70s under Bo Schembechler.
I was going to say, my lifetime they've been
when I was born, Michigan was shit, and Minnesota was the power. I mean, in 1968, Minnesota was the deal, and Michigan was a joke. All right, Schembechler made them into a modern-day power. Like people talk about, how can you discontinue Michigan, Notre Dame? It's not a traditional rivalry. They've been playing for like 15 years. Michigan State, Notre Dame is a traditional rivalry.
NBC made that a traditional rivalry.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan is not a traditional football power. I mean, I'm not saying they were never any good like in the 30s. Okay, who gives a shit? We were the shit in the 30s. I mean, I don't give. I mean, Michigan was a non-factor, nothing program, and now they got all this arrogance about like winning is our birthright, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. Well, I've got news for you. If you plan on being an elite program in the Big Ten, number one, you've got to get past. God, I used to be good at names, and now I can't. Florida, Ohio State, coach.
Tressel, Bobby Bowden.
No, the coach at Ohio State right now, you idiot.
Oh,
jeez, why am I losing?
And why am I kidding? Jesus Christ!
I completely lose my mind. But the bottom line is, he's the best coach in the Big. Well, he and D'Antoni are the best coaches in the Big Ten. I mean, Michigan State and Ohio State have. Urban Meyer.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I put myself under too much pressure from time to time trying to carry this fucking show with you. No, I'm just kidding. But the bottom line is Urban Meyer is so superior to Brady Hoke. The day they hired him, I'm like, well, Michigan's fucked. And they were, and they are. Yep. But even Ohio State is screwed to an extent, too, because, again, Big Ten teams cannot recruit like the Southern teams. They can't get the athletes. They can't get the speed that the Southern schools have. And they're not going to continue to compete with them on a regular basis. But the bottom line is, Jerry Kill is smart enough to not want to go to Michigan. He knows he's going to go to a job where it's not that easy to win. People think it's easy to win there. It's not easy to win there. It's not built in. Success is not guaranteed. And if you go... if you have like a 9-win year and a 10-win year, and then all of a sudden an 8 and a 6-win year, they're going to want you out. And that's the worst thing with Brady Hoke. And Brady Hoke should be out. He's an idiot. He's a bad coach, and he's a bad guy. And he should be out of there. And he went to the Sugar Bowl in his second year and beat Virginia Tech. It was the first or second year he went to the Sugar Bowl. And but people will tell you he did that with Rich Rodriguez players, and Rich Rodriguez probably would have had that level of success had he been given the time. Rich Rodriguez is a really good football coach, and he bombed as badly as you can at Michigan. Jerry Kill knows he's in a better place right now. He is. He is in a better place than Michigan.
Real quick, since we're running out of time here.
That's not to say it's a better job. It's just easier to succeed, or it's easier to meet expectations. Let me put it that way.
Did Glenn Mason, was his problem actually his success in a way? Because we were so used to being so bad that once he started winning, and I'm a very casual Gopher football fan. So
I'm not. I'm diehard and have been from 72.
But so from the outside looking in.
4 years old.
To me.
Go Gophers!
I remember.
Fuck you, Bucky!
That's exactly how you sounded, too.
It was.
But so from the outside looking in, though, for me it was, okay, now he's brought us to a level, take us to the next one. And I'm not.
He would have been the new stadium.
He raised the bar.
If you kept him here, he would have.
He would have in the new stadium.
I think that as the casual fan, we were just going, we'll just do it now, and we don't care what the outside, things that are playing into it are. We just say, you're doing well. You can rush the hell out of the ball. You keep getting these great running backs. Show us more. And now Kill comes in, and I think the expectations were actually lower for Kill.
Oh yeah.
And so you're just like, they lose to Illinois. And the great point in your Facebook post was that yesterday's loss is going to be a footnote, and yesterday's loss was one of Kill's biggest moments in a terrible way.
What's worse? Playing just a balls to the wall game against Michigan and rushing for 400 yards and losing in heartbreaking fashion, or losing to a horseshit Illinois team and throwing away a good season. What's worse in your mind?
Obviously the Kill thing, but
I agree,
in 2
fans.
years, no one will know about the Illinois game.
Exactly. Go for Nation doesn't see it that way. Dan, we didn't get time to do Grill the Host. I'm sorry. Did you have anything for Grill the Host?
No. Just a wedge salad.
Well, that was good.
Oh, God, wedge salad.
No, actually, I forgot about grill the
I
host.
had another brilliant post over the weekend about
Bring me
Native
back
American
and I'll
nicknames.
grill you.
Did you see my Native American
I did
nickname
see
post?
that one,
Because
too.
we're going to get
You
into
come
that one
around.
tomorrow.
Let's talk about that.
We're going to
That's
get into
great.
that one tomorrow. But that's going to be it. We're done. It's episode number 18, In the Can. That's where McGovern likes it, in the can.
It's wedge salad time.
Why did that have to go there? I don't think I asked
I don't
that,
know.
did
No, you really didn't. But that's uninvited shots are the best. So anyway, that's come on down to Devil's Advocate. Enjoy 40 craft beers. Enjoy that Atlantic Fair menu. Thanks to Dan Thompson. We've got a Wild Wednesday coming up in 2 days. Tomorrow, Brandon Warren. We're going to talk Twins. We're going to talk World Series. Wedge salad can suck it.
Yeah.
Yeah.